Alright. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode. If you don't know, now you know. And today we're getting to know Sandra Reyes. Yours truly, Sandra Reyes. Really quick, guys, she has a site that launched. When did it launch?
October 15th.
So she has a website called UrsTrulySandra.com. She's a writer, a blogger, a crafter, and a beer aficionado. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
So crafter, we're in her craft room right now. I specifically want to make sure when I did this interview with Sandra that we were in her craft room. You can't see much of it. You got her desk here, a lot of her supplies on the desk, but it's really neatly made by her boyfriend Richard, so it's real nice.
Yeah.
And one of the things she says on her site, she's books are her life and follow her for inspiration as she writes about life and everything in it. So check that out. But really quick, I want to jump right into it, Sandra. Tell us about yourself, like a 2-minute, 3-minute story, your background, and who you are. You have a little about me section, but
Yeah. So I was born and raised in Los Angeles. My parents are originally from Mexico, and I was born in LA. I'm the oldest of 3 siblings. I have 2 younger sisters, and let's see, I didn't finish college. I tried to, but I didn't finish. I hope one day maybe I can go back and finish, but it's not on my agenda right now. I've always loved to read, and I've always loved to write, and I've always loved arts and crafts ever since I was little. I love cats. I have 2 cats, Summer and Moz.
You'll see them running around.
And yeah. Right now my main focus is on my website, on my blog, trying to raise awareness and kind of let everybody know that there's more to life than just a job. I mean, if you're happy with that, that's cool too, but there are options out there, and I hope that I can lead by example, and with the changes that I've been making with my life, hopefully somebody will see that and think, hey, you know what, I want to do the same thing.
Yeah, I agree that Sandra, guys, is one of the main reasons, maybe a handful of why I decided to start my own site, my own blog. I have this channel now. If you don't know, now you know. To be able to interview people. What is she doing? She likes the jacket. This Maz?
It's Summer.
Summer's playing my jacket, guys. But so I saw her launch her site, or she was preparing to launch her site. She was getting everyone prepared on social media, letting everyone know what's going on. And I saw it, and maybe a week or 2 weeks before that, I was already preparing and thinking about starting and building my own brand. I was just starting my idea book, which I have here in my hands, and I reached out to Sandra and I asked her, how did she go about it? What did she do to start? All these things. We're going to find that out right now too. But the first thing she recommended to me was to read a book. That was the very first thing she told me to do, was read a book called Crush It by Gary Vaynerchuk. He's widely known in social media world. He has his own site and his own channel, Wine Library, I think it is. And
Gary V TV or
Gary
something.
V TV, Gary Media, Gary V Media, all this other stuff. But so tell us about that, Sandra. What was it that pushed you to say you wanted to start your own site, and what was the process before and then now?
So the process before was the website idea didn't really come to fruition until recently. I initially wanted to start an Etsy shop because I love my paper crafts and stuff. So I said, well, I wanted to get some extra income coming in, and I thought, well, I'll open an Etsy shop, and I could just keep playing around with the idea, and then I was like, I don't know, like I think I want to do something bigger, but I knew I wanted to do something. So I've been reading a lot. I mean, I'm a reader. I read at least a book a week, and it felt like every book that I was reading was coming into my life at the right time. I don't know if it makes sense.
No, I get that.
Like, and it's weird because I wasn't like, oh, well, I need to read about this because I want to do that. No, it was like, okay, I'm behind on my reading goal, so I'm going to read the shorter ones so I could catch up. And then, but they just happened to be in perfect order. Like I needed to read them in that order. And then I'd read one book and then something would click in my head. Then I read the next one and then something else would click in my head. And then I read the next one and it was like, crap, like they're telling me something. Like these books are telling me to do something. Like they kept delivering the same message. And then I got to Crush It by Gary Vaynerchuk and I was like, okay, that's it. Yeah. Like he fucking said it. I need to do it. Like that's it. It's done. Like so I followed all the well, he pretty much tells you like how to get started and stuff, and I went on GoDaddy, but I'm not a big fan of GoDaddy, so I found a different place where I could purchase my domain and start my website, and then I just went from there.
I liked it a lot. It's I really do get you when you say that when the books kind of fall into the right place and they kind of speaking to you. Mm-hmm. It was in August when I was told by Fred Terrace, I don't know if you know Fred Terrace, he told me to read Start With Why, because he asked me what my reason why I'm doing anything was, why I'm working where I work now in the insurance industry, and I couldn't answer him right away. I couldn't, and years before that I was able to answer him, or I was able to answer anyone of why I was doing what I was doing. At that point I couldn't, and so I picked up the book Start With Why, I started reading it, and it hit me in a big way. As far as Simon Sinek talked a lot about branding and having a logo that says something a lot about who you are, like Apple or Microsoft, their logo says something. When people see the logo, it says something about who they are when they purchase that product. I like the idea of that. I liked it a lot, and talked about why you do anything versus what and how they're in two different parts of the brain. I read that book, and then you recommended Crush It, so I read Crush It. Why was like Start With Why. Yeah. You know, Crush It to me was, this is how I'm going to do it. And then what I haven't found yet, right now I'm finishing up the book, The Magic of Thinking Big, which is pushing me further to think bigger and not be so fearful of what I've been fearful of lately. Just launching the site, worried about what others might think. Which leads me to my next question about your first two blogs. One was Facing Your Fears, and the other one, Creating Your Own Success. Facing My Fears, when I read that blog, it hit me really well, like really good, because I was in the beginning stages of just the idea of my website. What exactly were some of your fears that you had in starting the site, and as well as creating your definition of success? What was that like for you writing those two blogs?
Well, the first blog, Facing Your Fears, I wrote it because when I purchased my domain and started working on the website, I knew it eventually had to go live, but I was kind of like, let me just work on it and see what happens. And I learned that it was because I was afraid, because I was like, well, what are people gonna think? They're gonna be like, who's this girl? Like, she thinks she's cool because she has a website now, or like, you know, I could say stuff, or I could post something on Facebook and delete it later if I think it's stupid. But if I'm writing something or I'm posting something on my website, it's like people are gonna go back to it. Like a lot of people are gonna go back to it, and it's not like Facebook settings where you could set it to private, or like I'm friends with this person, but I'm gonna make it so she can't see this or he can't see that. No, like it's out there. So I think that was my biggest fear, just being criticized. Like, what is she talking about? She's only 29 years old. What the fuck does she know about life?
That's right.
And so it's like, and my whole thing is like, I want to inspire people, but like if you read the About Me section on my website, I feel like I've been through certain things in my 29 years of life, and I feel like if I had somebody who told me some of the things, or what, I don't know, like certain lessons that I've learned, maybe if somebody would have sat down and told me, hey, you know, don't do this or don't do that, then it would have helped me. I mean, I guess it's a good thing that I learned them by myself, but I feel like posting that stuff online makes me feel like if somebody reads it, I might be able to help them out.
Big time.
Or if, for example, like with you said you read that post and you were like, oh man, like that hits close to home, and that's exactly the point. Like, I want people to read my blogs and be like, dude, this is so true, like oh my god, like, and that's the reaction I want. Like that makes me happy, because I feel like I'm making a difference. Like that's the whole point. That's the point of UrsTrulySandra.com. Like the crafts and the beer stuff, like that's that's cool too. Like that's part of me, but it's more for like a creative outlet. But like my main thing is like getting the blog out there and talking about the books that have like impacted my life, or that I'm just like, oh my god, people need to read this. But yeah, I don't know if that answers your first question.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Pretty much, I was just scared of the criticism and just people saying like, who the fuck does she think she is?
Yeah.
Like, she's nobody here.
And let me say something on the fears too. There's a blog that, by the way, guys, I wrote a couple blogs that you'll be reading over the next 4 weeks when my site launches, December 1st. I'm having Sandra edit them in the first place. Some of them, I'm not sure how long that would take, because eventually I want to get better at editing my own stuff as well. But there's one blog I wrote on fear. I attended a Tony Robbins event, something you wanted to attend, the UPW in downtown LA, and he has these 2 fears he talks about, the fear of not being enough and the fear of not being loved. And read the book by Napoleon Hill called Outwitting Devil. He has 6 fears on there. Pick up the book. I'm not going to go to the 6 fears. Sometimes they're hard to remember. But those 6 fears connect to the 2 fears that Tony talked about. I feel if you can they fall right into place. And that fear of criticism is something I've always felt. The fear of rejection, the fear of criticism. And I think that falls very well into the fear of not being enough to people, or feeling like you might not be loved. Because that's something Tony struggled with when he was younger. He said that he was 19 years old, 20 years old. He wanted to go change people's lives, but he's only 19. He's too young. What does he know about life, right? Like how we kind of, like, I'm 23. What do I know in my 23? And you say I'm 29, but what do I know in my 20? Everyone's gonna feel a little inadequate in certain areas, but that's why we go out and get these self experiences, learn these personal life experiences, you know. And so your second blog, creating
your own definition of success.
Talk about that.
That one I wrote just because you try to do your own thing and people kind of judge you because they're doing their own thing, and then they want you to do that, and it's like you want to fit in, so you do it, but then you realize it's not for you. So sometimes you might get criticized, sometimes you might get rejected, and I wrote that blog because I was like, it doesn't matter what people think, and it goes back to a little bit back to like the whole fear thing. Because the reason you're fearful of criticism is because you care about what people think. And for me, it was important to write that blog post because I feel like you need to do whatever makes you happy. Don't let anybody tell you need to do this because this is what's gonna make you feel happy, or this is what's gonna make you more money, or this is what's gonna make you famous, or whatever it is. If you want to be famous and that's what you want to do, go for it. You want to make money, you want to be rich, that's what you want to do, go for it. But if you don't care about that stuff and you'd rather make a little bit of extra income knitting scarves because that's what you like to do, then do it. But don't half-ass it. Like, go do it all the way. Hustle, get your Etsy shop or to start promoting, and then eventually open a little shop. I mean, you have to start somewhere, but that's pretty much where that stems from. I think everybody should make their own. They just need to find their own purpose in life, and they shouldn't feel bad or they shouldn't feel guilty for not doing what other people tell them to do.
I completely agree. That's something that we've learned both, and I hope you remember the story, but Gary Vaynerchuk talks about whatever you like to do. It's okay. What's her name? That's Summer. Summer's in the camera if you can see her. She's right there. Hey, baby. But Gary talks about, he gives steady examples. He says if you love ferrets, talk about ferrets. You like worms. One example that stuck out to me the most, he said, you might be someone who knows about 12 different worm, like bait to catch fish, and you for some reason found that one bait that was the best to catch as much fish as you can, and you just happen to have a website and you talk about it, and you're not looking for income. You just love to, get that information out there to other people who love to fish and find the best bait. He says, what if one day you talked about that one bait and there's a business development person who's on your site he loves to fish, but he's also great at business development. Or he has in with a magazine or a TV show, and then boom, he locks onto you. He says, I want to have you on the TV show or the magazine, or let's build a business out of this. And now you have income coming in. And of course, to a lot of people, that's not a very, that's not the traditional way to go make money. People see, and that's why there's the criticism, right? Because, oh, you're going to make money through, you know, social media or whatever it is.
Yeah.
She's not going to buy anything, is she?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Come here, Mama. Come on.
But that was a great point that you made, and like that's the story that stuck out to me most in that book, Gary Vaynerchuk. But when you started, a lot of this inspiration and motivation you want to do, I know it's something I've always wanted to do, at least since I was 19 for the last 4 years. And I started my personal development, program or my growth and all that when I was 19. When did it start for you? How did it start? And why did you continue it?
Okay, so I've always been a reader, as I mentioned, but for the most part, read novels. I think the only personal development books I ever read were like Chicken Soup for the Soul books, and I think Why Men Love Bitches.
Who wrote that?
I can't remember, but
that's good. I'm sure.
Yeah, so it wasn't until I started working at PHP that they started to talk about personal development and how it's really important to read. And I was like, reading, cool, you know, like I wasn't making any money there, but I was getting claps for reading a lot of books. So I was like, cool, like let me keep reading.
That year, you read how many books? 50 books?
Last year I read 50.
Last year, 50
yeah.
books. That's freaking crazy.
Yeah, and it's because Patrick was like, okay, pick a goal, 6, 12, 24, 50. And I was like, well, I'll read 24. And Sandra was like, 24, read 50. And I was like, all right, let's read 50 then. So I read 50. And this year I upped it up only by a few. I'm doing 53 just because last year I knew I was going to do something. I didn't know what it was exactly, but I knew I was going to do something. So I only did 53 this year. What was your question? I'm sorry.
About your personal development.
Oh, yeah. So my personal development, you could say, started about 2 years ago.
Okay.
2 years ago.
And then what was the very first book you read, personal development?
The first personal development book I read was How to Win Friends and Influence People, I think it was.
Yeah, I just read that one 2 months ago maybe. I'm sorry, I heard the audio and now I gotta read it because there was notes in there that when I was into the audio, I was driving or something, so I couldn't take notes down, but I gotta take notes down for it. But that's a really good book, and that's also a book a lot of branding professionals or specialists that they talk about reading. It's a really good book. And
that one really helped with my attitude because prior to PHP, I was very like, people are so annoying. No, I hate people. I don't like being around them. And like reading that book just kind of like loosened me up. Like, take a chill pill. Yeah. No way. I think it's because of my job, my full-time job. I think because I deal with a lot of people and it's like mentally exhausting hearing their stories and then like the attitudes and everything. So I think because of that, like I'm like, I don't want to be around people.
That's what you're kind of used to.
When I read that book, I was like, dude, I need to loosen up. Like I can't be like that all the time. So like I just started with small things. Like he talks about smiling, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna start smiling a little bit more. And it's true, like you smile more and you feel better.
That's very true.
You feel better. So I'm like, baby steps, and eventually, like, my attitude started changing, and I know that at the office they would say like people are gonna tell you changed and you're gonna be a different person, and I was like, well, I don't know what that means, but whatever. But literally, like, I was hearing it, they weren't telling me directly, but I was hearing it from other people, like, dude, what's up with Sandra? Like, she's a totally different person. Like, she's so nice. Like,
that's so good.
She used to be a robot before or something. Like, they used to say, like, she wouldn't talk, and she was always so serious.
That's crazy. I would never imagine that. No way.
So, I think that book helped me a lot in terms of attitude.
Okay.
And then, the classics, Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah, that one was good.
That's good for goal setting.
Yeah. I like that one.
Because I had I had no idea about like, oh, you gotta write your goals down and all that stuff. I mean, I always kept journals and stuff, but it wasn't like, oh, this week I gotta, you know, these are my long-term goals and my short-term goals. But yeah.
No, I agree. There's in PHP, I learned to you know, business plans or they call them life plans to you know, start writing down. And at the beginning of every business plan I had, I would write first you think of a goal, right? It's in the head first, and it doesn't really mean anything. Even if you speak it, doesn't really mean anything. Well, it does make a big difference, but then once you write it down, it's on a physical thing now. You can hold it, and it's like a real idea. And then you know, so when you think about it, and then you write it down, from the thought process to the writing it down, it's an action step to write it down, right? And then from the writing to actually making that dream come true is another action step. So it's funny, there's always an action step in between, and that's one of the things in my, you know, my tagline that the life is created by the choices, action, decisions that you make. So another question is, and this is something I picked up. Where did I pick it up? I got it in one of the books, or I think I heard it in a video. Oh yeah, I picked it up in a book. It was called Date or Soulmate. How to know if someone you're dating is someone you want to be with in the first 2 dates. Or he said,
dates.
Yeah,
right.
You'll be surprised. That was a really good book. I would recommend it for couples and all that. But or even if you're single, you know, pick up Date or Soulmate. I forgot the author, but I'll put in the description. He says, one of the questions he asks is, before you look for somebody that you want to be with, you know, forever, you're gonna have to really get to know yourself first. And there's like a list of 20 questions. You gotta answer them all, and the answer to each question has to be a paragraph, and it has to be in-depth thought. And you'd be surprised, you think you know yourself, right? But when you answer these questions, you really don't. One of the questions is, what would you like people to say about you, specifically your family, your friends, at your funeral? So I know it's something you need like a paragraph to write down, but if you could answer it now, what would that be? Like off the top of your head.
You know, it's funny because I've read a few books that use that as an example, like pretty much like live your life the way you want to be remembered. Or they tell you write down what you would want people to say at your funeral. So it's crazy because I have thought about it before, and every time I read that in a book, I'm like, shit, like, man, I gotta work on myself. Because
that's so
you know, I'm a work in progress. Nobody's perfect, and I'm not trying to be perfect, but I do want to be the best version of myself. And I think I just want to be known for being a good person. I think I want to be known for being an inspiration, for inspiring people to do what they love, and for doing good. I think essentially that's what I want to be known for. Yeah.
I think so too. And it's funny because when I first thought about it, I was 22. So it's just a year difference. But a year difference in growth can make a big difference when you're reading or watching certain videos or putting yourself around the right people. And I thought, and I've always told my mom, there's a certain song I want played at my funeral, or cremation, whatever it is that I want to have done. And she always tells me, you know, don't say that. You know, hopefully I leave this world before you do. But I've always thought about it. You know, when I die, this is what I want. This is what I want people to say. This is the song I want played. And what I want people to say most is that Jonathan always gave. And it's funny because my mom always says, man, you give too much. What is that word called? Altruistic, I think it is, where you're someone who gives too much, it kind of hurts you. I've never been hurt yet by giving too much, and I felt like I've given a lot to people, but I'm just that kind of person. I love to help, whether it's in money and I don't have it, whether it's in giving someone a ride somewhere or letting them stay at my place for the night. I've done a lot for people, and it's not to brag, it's just
that's just who you are.
It's just who I am. And then once I'm gone, that I'm not around to say that anymore about myself. It's the people who experienced me, or they heard my story, or they've seen my life. They're gonna say, wow, that was a great guy, and then that's gonna pass on through everybody's ears. And that's always been important to me, to constantly think about, when you die, what do you want said about you? And I don't want people to say that
you were a jerk.
I was a jerk.
That was a dick.
I don't want that at all, because I read the book by T. Harv Eker, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, and he said, money only makes you more of who you already are. So let's say you're someone who's not in the income class you want to be in, and you make a certain amount of income, but you want to help people, and you say, I'm going to wait to help people when I start making more money. Well, if you don't help now, what makes you think you're going to do that when you have more money?
Yeah.
It's a who you are kind of thing.
Yeah.
You give when you are, you give at any level you're at in your life. Is what you should do. And I've always liked giving. That's something I've always done. Next question is, I think you created your own quote already or several, but what would be one thing you can say, like, when you say it or when people read it, oh, Sandra said that, and there's a reason why she said it. Your quote. Everyone has a quote, right? What would that be for you?
That's a tough one. I mean, I try to pick. I made up that motto thing that I have, the get inspired, stay motivated, and continue growing along the way. But I don't think people know me for that yet.
That one's a good one though. You'd be surprised.
Yeah, it's good, but I don't think, like, cause I'm thinking in terms of like friends and family. Like if they think of me, like what quote? I don't know. That's tough. The truth always comes out. I don't know. I mean, not to be negative, but I don't know. That's tough. Or does it have to be something that I say?
It could be something that you like it comes, like you made the quote. So let's say, I don't know, John C. Maxwell, he has a interview with Lewis Howes, and I posted on Twitter a few days ago. He says, success is about me and significance is about people. So your success, your money, the houses, everything you have with that success, that's about, me. But significance is about what you do for the world and everything. So that's his quote though. He made that up. Yeah. Is there something that you can say right now off the top of your head, like
just to get inspired, stay motivated, and continue growing along the way? That's
a good one. Easy. That's it. That's the one right there. Also, Lewis Howes. You told me about Lewis Howes.
Yes,
how did you hear about Lewis Howes?
Let me see. How did that happen? I think it happened by accident. Actually, I was on Facebook, scrolling down all the pointless feed, because you always get a bunch of crap. I got an ad for Lewis Howes. He was going to be in LA for some talk or whatever. I told my boyfriend about it, and I was like, this sounds really cool, like we should do it. He's going to write a book and it's going to be out soon, and then he has a podcast. So then he just sounded really cool. And the tickets weren't that expensive, and it was in downtown LA, which is like 20 minutes away from home. And then I started listening to his podcast, and I was like, oh my god, we need to go see this guy. Like, we need to go see him. He has a great story. And my boyfriend started listening to his podcast, and he was like, yeah, let's go, let's do it. And so we went, and it was awesome. Not only did the ticket include 10 free books. Yeah.
Wait, you have it?
No, they haven't been delivered yet. But
crap, okay.
yeah.
I'm gonna buy one off you.
No, I told you I was gonna give you one. Remember?
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, I just haven't received them yet.
Oh my god.
But I'm gonna have
good
some book
connections.
giveaways.
You get free books.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have some free book giveaways when I get them. But
that's gonna be good.
Whatchamacallit, he did a workshop with Michael Port, who's supposed to be like the best public speaking coach in the world, and he was an actor. I think he was in like some old episodes of Sex and the City. Yeah, he's out, like that's how people know him. But he was great. Yeah. But he was great too, and we had a really good time. We got to see them both train different people, and it was awesome. It was like 8 hours or something like that, and it didn't even feel like it.
That's so really cool. I love Lewis Howes so much now. I listen to him all the time. I've listened to Promote Your Passion. That was one of his podcasts. I listened to that one maybe 3 times. I've been telling everyone, my brother, my mom, and everyone. I've been posting about Lewis Howes, and I feel like, man, I feel like I'm so far behind in knowing who this guy is, and everyone else knows. Yeah. But his book School of Greatness sounds freaking amazing.
I know.
I just can't wait to get it.
I emailed him and I was like, where the heck are your books? Like, I feel like, I think on Twitter too, I tagged him and I was like, everyone's over here reading their School of Greatness book, and I'm over here like, when am I gonna get mine? And he's like, I'm so sorry.
Oh, he's responding to you. Oh, that's so awesome.
He's like, I'm sorry about the delay, and we emailed the people or whatever, and they said you should be getting them soon. I don't know, they had an issue or something, but they should be coming in soon.
That's really cool. That reminds me about, you said you attended the event. Well, you told me about the business expo we just went to about, what was it, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah,
2 weeks ago?
like that,
in downtown LA, small business expo, and there was great guys there, and the one guy that stood out to me the most was Bill Walsh. Was that his name? Bill Walsh?
Was that the morning session, like the really early one?
No, he was at the end also. One of the last speakers to the main stage. Well, there was something he said. He was in one of his talks. No, he was like a public speaker.
Oh, okay.
He said to look to your left, to look to your right, tell the person next to you, you have no idea who you're sitting next to. Or, no, it went, I have big things to do, you have no idea who you're sitting next to. And I thought, man, that's powerful. You have no idea who you're talking to, you know, and the reason I bring that up is because you and I, we met once before in preparing for my launch for my site, and we said that we were gonna kind of work on some things together, maybe hold some events or all this at the business expo. A lot of those guys there, they had their own masterminds, and that's kind of what we did that day. If in building a mastermind, have you ever thought about doing that? And if you did, what would you want that mastermind to be?
Yeah, I have thought about it. I actually have I have another mastermind group. There's a guy, his name is Danny, and I actually met him through Instagram, and he has this amazing website where all he does is, well, not all he does, but he has a bunch of, he reads a book a week, so he writes a book review every week. Very detailed, very informative. He also has a creative person of the week where he features a person that does art and stuff like that. That's right, he has a blog where he just talks about like different things, anything related to the philosophy of the website. It's called readleadcreate.com, and he has a few contributing authors. I'm one of them, and I actually just had a mastermind with the 3 guys. There's 4 of us total, 3 guys. I'm the only girl. I think last week or something like that. Yeah, and it was pretty cool. One of the guys was masterminding from Australia. Yeah. That's
a big deal, Sandra. You're really gonna get out there.
I hope so.
Absolutely, you will.
Yeah, and it was like I think 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and he's like, but I mean, we were still doing it, and it's cool because you're like, we talked about how there's a lot of people on Instagram that are like into fiction. And so we're cool, we're different because we're about nonfiction, and the website's all about nonfiction books and personal development and growing and leading by example. So like we talked about like what we can do with that, and it's just cool, like just getting other people's perspectives and like knowing that you guys are on the same page and you guys have like the same mindset. And this, you know, you guys are moving forward in the same direction. You're learning things from each other. Like, I love that.
That's so cool.
And then I met someone else on Instagram that's that invited me to another mastermind for tomorrow. I don't know how that one's gonna go, but I don't want her to jump up there. She's yeah.
The camera falls. The cat drops the guys.
Yeah. But back to your question. I have thought about creating a mastermind group. I think it's really, really important. It's just as important as having a mentor.
She's right near the camera.
But I think it's a little bit easier to start a mastermind group than get a mentor.
Yeah.
So I think it's a start for anybody who wants to start something, just to get together with a few like-minded people, get some ideas, maybe collaborate. I think it's like one of the best things to do, and
big time.
Absolutely, I've thought about it, and I want to do something. And how would I go about it? In terms of what, like, what we would talk about, or? Yeah,
what kind of things would you talk about? Are you going to be someone who maybe in that mastermind has a couple different sections, like a book club, and then there's like an events thing you do, and is there a way where you want to have a charity section where you raise money for certain things? What were the kind of thoughts you've had on that?
Those are actually really good. I'm gonna steal those ideas. But No, I just thought about just getting a group of people together. I feel like there's, like you talk about Lewis Howes, and then there's Michael Port, and then there's Gary Vee, and John C. Maxwell, and all these guys, right? And Brian Tracy and Grant Cardone, and these are all like guys like going out there, they're public speakers, motivational speakers, whatever. And I'm like, I don't see enough girls. You know, like I listen to Chalene Johnson's podcast. I love her. She's amazing. She's really good friends with Lewis Howes.
Okay.
And there's actually a really good podcast where she interviews Lewis Howes, and it gets really emotional. It's like a really good, really good podcast. Yeah. But anyway, I was actually thinking about starting some type of mastermind with women, just to try to get more women out there. Like, you know, we need more boss chicks. And so like I feel special because I'm part of that Read, Lead, Create team, and I'm the only girl. And it's like it should be more girls, you know. So I kind of want to do that. I want to open the doors to more women.
That's actually really good, because I was maybe a week and a half ago hanging out with my one of my close friends, his youngest sister, who I've known since she was maybe 2 or 3 years old. She's now 17 or 16. We were hanging out, and I was telling her about my brand, Think Out Loud, and the launch of my website, and maybe different sections I want to have on there. I told her to just feed me ideas, and so she did, and she's smart. Like she's kind of lost right now, where she doesn't really know what she wants to do in terms of a career. She just knows she really wants to help people. She's passionate about certain things. Some of them were along the lines of communicating with people, listening to people. People are her age, like young girls in her age group, helping them out with issues they might have. I'm looking through a little test we did here, her and I, and to determine what her passion is. But I can't find it. But I told her, you know, I didn't tell her actually. In my mind, I was thinking, man, if we can have some kind of group where it's not like Oprah's amazing, right? I'm sure you agree. Or there might be an Chalene Johnson. If for young women or women alike, if they were able to have just able to touch someone like this and be with them in person, like really you feed off their mind and pick their brain, you know, that would be good for them. And I think if Helen had something like that, that would be good for her. But these people aren't always
they're not
in
reachable.
reach, you know?
That's why I call them my virtual mentors, because it's not like I could be like, hey, how's it going, Lewis? Like,
my mentors would be Lewis Howes, John C. Maxwell, Napoleon Hill, and
Jim Rohn, who's
dead. Yeah, Tony Robbins. Exactly, you can't call him at all anymore. Which was he was the mentor for Tony Robbins, by the way.
He mentioned that to me.
But I think if there was someone like you, and you're one of the perfect examples, that you create a mastermind group, and maybe it might be a direction you want to go or not, but for the younger crowd and women, 15, as young as you want to go, and they start growing with a mindset of reading and really being that boss chick you're talking about. Because my mom's a single mom, and when I see a hardworking woman, I think my mom, like that's all the way. And then Paulette, of course, she's someone who's really such a good example, or some other women, but I think you can definitely something like that. And I know a lot of young women who need that. You know, they need someone who's in reach, who's living life with them, because sometimes you feel like you look at Lewis Howes and all these people, and we understand that they go through struggles. But everyone thinks, oh, they had like this overnight success, and they didn't have their struggles or anything. But
and it's not like that.
Yeah. Well, what would be one of the biggest struggles, or let's do this actually. It's gonna be a very honest question. It's like, what was the biggest failure you've ever had? And struggle as well. I think struggle and failure can be different. What would be the biggest failure you've ever experienced?
The biggest.
But you picked up from it.
I think the biggest failure, because you know, we grew up because with our parents telling us, oh, you need to go to school and you need to get good grades, you can go to good college, get a job, blah blah blah. You guys know the story. So for me, it was like, okay, I need to go to school, but then in high school, I was like, oh, I just want to get through this, you know?
I know.
And then I was like, I don't even want to go to college. And I started working when I was 15. Oh, wow. So I liked like being independent. I liked that I was making my own money. I didn't have to ask my parents for money. And so like the whole school thing was kind of like, it was on the back burner. But then I was like, well, maybe I should try it. So I I tried it, didn't work. It was like, I was there, I wasn't. And then I would go back, and then I would do good for a couple semesters, and then I'd stop going, and then I'd go back. Right now I'm at a point where I haven't gone back, but for a long time I was really, really disappointed in myself, where I was like, fuck, like I would have had like 2 degrees by now if I would have just finished school. Like, why didn't I finish school? And I think, and I don't think I've ever shared this with anyone, or maybe Richard, but I felt like a failure because I felt like I didn't have an education. I didn't have a bachelor's degree under my belt. And then living up the street from Cal State LA in May and June, it was like you'd see everybody going for graduation, and then Saturday mornings like, and I'm like, another year, and I still don't have a degree.
Oh man.
And I hated May and June. Like I hated it because I felt like I'm such a fucking loser. Like I never finished school. And I think about my parents, and I'm like, they came here to give us a better life. I'm US born. English is like my first language. Well, Spanish and then English, but you know what I mean. Yeah. And I didn't take the opportunity. I didn't go to school. And so that for me was like a fail. Like that to me made me feel like a failure because I didn't finish school. Yeah. And I feel like maybe one day I'd like to go back just to say like I did it. Yeah. But I think right now I'm trying to focus on something else.
I was gonna say that too. Actually, I went to 3 different colleges after high school. One was an art school. Took 1 class. I loved it for photography. Then I went to a community college, Glendale Community College. Took 4 classes. My favorite class was my design class. I love art. And then after that, I just went 1 semester. Then I went to a 15-month trade school to get my associates in advanced health and fitness. This is what I learned about school. I like to learn. In advanced health and fitness, when I got that associates, I was like, man, I learned about anatomy and learned a little bit of nutrition, physiology, medical terminology, what else? Respiratory, all this other stuff. Yeah. Because I became a certified personal trainer at 19. And then when I went to Glendale Community College, I learned math, a subject that wasn't my favorite at all. And then English, something I really liked a lot, only because I learned how to write then. I was 18, 19. And then I took another English class. And then my design class, I love art. Yeah. And I love photography. That's what I love to do. I love to learn about different things, about everything, really. Yeah. But what I didn't like is that I needed to get a grade or to like pass a class for you to like, who are you to tell me that I can be successful with a certain grade? You know, like to be overqualified for a specific job title or anything. Because entrepreneurs, we can go out there and create and do whatever we want. You're gonna fail, you're gonna succeed, whatever it is, but you choose, that path. And in school, it's kind of like you gotta learn one specific thing, and then you gotta master your trade also. Yeah. But then people go to school and they learn this one thing and they realize that's not what they want to do. Yeah. And what I'm trying to say is I will go back to school. I know I want to go back to school, but I don't think I'll go back for. At least I'm saying now I won't go back for a degree or anything. Yeah. I know I'm gonna go back just to just to learn. To learn the things I want to learn. If I want to learn philosophy and psychology and some science, I want to learn it and not worry if I pass or anything, because I'm just learning so I get the information and pick and choose. I don't want to master that stuff, but just to know the information would be good. Yeah.
That's a good topic that you brought up. You just reminded me of something I was thinking about the other day, because I went through a phase where when I was going to school, when I was taking college courses, I was like really into it, and I was like, oh my god, like I can't picture myself not like if I graduate, I can't picture living the rest of my life not going to school. Like I feel like I'd always want to take a class. Yeah. And then I'd imagine myself like being an old lady sitting there like taking notes or whatever. Yeah. And I always said that, like I can't imagine myself not going to school, not learning. And it's funny because I haven't been to school in like 4 years, and but I'm still learning. It's just not in a classroom. Right. I'm I'm what is it?
Self-developing?
I'm self-developing, or I'm teaching myself, I guess, through all the books. Self-education, there you go. Through all the books that I'm reading. So I just think that's
I just got a good idea right now about creating like a school of self-development. So we'll talk about it after.
Yeah. Mastermind.
But last question actually, and it's and then I want to get a statement from you after also. But my favorite question to ask lately, I've been reading an article about what it means to be authentic, authenticity, and the article that I have, surprising enough, it talks about authenticity not being so much of a good thing in some cases, as far as a leader role, and everyone has a leadership role. It just depends on if you understand that you're in that role. The article talks about being authentic. Let's say you're a leader, and I'll use an example of you're in the army and you're out at war right now, and you're leading a group of 5 people, and this is your first time being in that role. Like you've been promoted to this lead role, but your first time actually in combat. Showing that you can that you deserve that role. But you tell these 5 people very authentically, look guys, this is my first time here. I'm just as scared as you are. I'm gonna need your help, but I'm gonna do what I can. You might, that kind of does sound like you're coming from a good place, but it talks about it's not coming from a good place. These 5 people are not in your role. They didn't get promoted to your role. There's this front that you gotta have, not fake it, but there's a reason you're in that position. You kind of have to tell them, look, I got everything under control, just follow my lead, and I'm gonna get you out of here, or whatever it is, right? And that's in the army, that's death, But sometimes it talks about authenticity being a good thing and a bad thing, and it's interesting because I've always thought about authentic being real, being you. But I know also that in that article it says, how do you know who you are? If someone who says they want to be true to themselves, how do you know you're going to be true to yourself? Because someone who's growing like we are, we're a different person every week to a month to a year. So you can't stay true to who I am today, because next year I'm going to be a different guy. So it really got me thinking of what authenticity is. But before I mentioned all that, what was it to you? What did it mean? What does it mean for you to be authentic?
For me, it means walking the talk, leading by example. You talked earlier about you being a giving person, and how that's just who you are. And I feel like your actions tell people who you are, not what you say. So being authentic is being a person of action, doing the things that you believe in. That's my definition of authenticity.
I like that a lot. That's actually a good one that I'm gonna write down after this. Because I want to get as many answers as I can of what authenticity is. And for everybody watching, thank you for showing up and watching the first episode. If you don't know, now you know. If you could, go ahead and submit comments to my social media or even Sandra or this video in the description, and tell me what you think it means to be authentic. Tell us what you think about the interview, and maybe you have some insight, or you learned something from myself or from Sandra. What are some of the social media you would tell everyone to follow you on? The handles on Instagram or Twitter, Facebook, mostly Instagram, And it's Yours Truly Sandra. It's Yours Truly Sandra on Instagram, Yours Truly Sandra on Twitter, and Yours Truly Sandra on Facebook. And I'm also on Pinterest, Yours Truly Sandra. And yours is spelled URS. And then Truly, of course, TRULY, Sandra, SANDRA. And her website, guys, www.UrsTrulySandra.com. I read all her blogs already. They're incredible blogs. There's something definitely to be learned from it. It's hit home for me, and I'm learning how to write more. I've been getting into writing more, and she's editing my stuff. So if you like her stuff, I'm sure you're gonna like my stuff because she's editing it. But other than that, thank you, and look forward to you guys watching the next episode, which is already filmed before this one. And thank you so much, Sandra. Thank you.